So now that I think we have everybody here, guys, thank you for the opportunity. My partner John Seibel just walked in out
Hello.
of a meeting. I'll make a formal intro in a moment. Um, so the name of our organization is called Alpha Sun. We are an official nonprofit in the solar energy space. John and I are committed to sponsoring various programs within local communities, and we're utilizing solar as the financial vehicle for that, which is where all you guys come into play. I'm sure you guys have had at least one or two conversations about solar. It's on every block now. Um, and specifically in the real estate industry, up until 4 or 5 years ago, there was a lot of pushback because there were some financing entities that were placing these liens on people's homes that made it very, very, very annoying when you were trying to sell a home. I'm sure Mr. Falco can attest to that. But the program that John and I specifically run here in New York State is really cool because it's an actual state-funded program, and no lien is placed on the home at all. And I'll get more into that financial stuff a little further down the segment. Um, we basically have implemented and it's really about engaging a business owner, primarily homeowner, um, so that if you can schedule an appointment, a consultation, if that moves forward with a project, if they do qualify and complete a project, then we're gonna cut a check to that individual agent in the amount of $2,000. Likewise, whenever our team comes across a potential homeowner, a potential client, and they say, we'd love to go solar, but um, we're selling our home, that would then become a lead for you guys for a potential listing. I'm not sure if you guys do rentals as well, but we come across those opportunities as well. In fact, just a couple weeks ago, I shot a text to Anthony where something came across my desk and shot it to him right away. Um, by the way, she did find a place, Anthony. So with that being said, that is what we're looking to do. We're looking to reward individuals for lead generation and return the favor. So with that being said, I'm going to formally introduce my partner, John Seibel. He'll give you some of his background, and then he'll talk a little bit about the New York State program. This is Mr. John Seibel, guys.
Hey guys, thanks for joining the call. I know we're still getting away from the ramifications of COVID, and there's still a lot of Zoom conversations taking place all over the world, I'm sure. But it's cool to see that little by little we're getting back to the in-person version of things. I imagine you guys as real estate agents also appreciate that little by little you're getting back to the tables, the kitchen tables, hopefully, and having face-to-face conversations. I missed David's initial introduction and some of your introductions, so I apologize. But I do see your names up on the screen. My name is John Seibel. I guess just a 30-second background. I've been in sales for about 15 years now. I used to run a sales outlet for Verizon Fios. And I've been in solar for about 7 years now, working mostly with this state benefit program that David just touched on momentarily. Other than that, I have a lot of missionary background. My parents were career missionaries over 30 years across 5 continents, West Africa, India. I personally volunteered in Central America for a number of years. And I guess, David was saying that we're using solar as a vehicle to find monetary support to give back to needy communities. It's kind of like, I'm sure some of you guys have heard of the concept of social entrepreneurship. Coming from a firsthand background of seeing my parents who were Christian missionaries, they lived by faith. They were supported by various churches in Western Europe during the time that they were in Africa and in India. A lot of cool projects that we did there, teaching kids a craft so they could later on have a a vocation or a job and earn a living, you know, as a cobbler, or, you know, shoemaker, or as a seamstress, a tailor, what have you. A lot of really great stuff that we did there, and that was my childhood. But I won't get too much into that. The main thing that really intrigues me, though, about leveraging solar as a financial vehicle to fund the ministry or to support a cause is that growing up firsthand and seeing that my parents had this desire, you know, to help the underprivileged communities of the world, but there was always a shortage of budget or funds to do it, right? So there was a lot of inefficiency or time spent trying to find outlets for funding, you know, to support the causes that they had a passion to support. And I feel that if you apply the model of social entrepreneurship to solar, you know, there's so much government money being injected into the solar industry right now, especially here in the US. I'm not sure if you guys follow the politics of it much, but essentially, if homes qualify for these various federal and state subsidies and local, you know, state NYSERDA funding, folks can really own these solar systems without coming out of pocket, without taking out private loans or impacting their DTI, right, their debt to income threshold. So it's a tremendous way to put equity into a home, save money, do the right thing by the planet and future generations, obviously, as well. And so David and I, you know, collectively have 17 years in the solar industry. So when it comes to anything solar, if any of your clients have questions related to solar, I would really, you know, with confidence say that we can be added value to your conversation. You know, statistically, more and more folks are at least intrigued by solar. I'm sure some of you on this call can give feedback to that effect, but you know, we would love to be your go-to guys when any of your clients have questions about solar. And maybe a little down the road on this call, I'll be able to delve more specifically into how the state benefit program works for a qualifying household, and you know, and how we're taking specific portions of net profits to give straight back to the community. So thanks, guys, for the opportunity. Nice to be here with y'all.
And guys, as I said to Sakina, I no longer have my my EA who used to host this, so I'm a little bit of a dinosaur, not the biggest techie. If anybody has any questions, so that we don't talk over each other, unless you're in motion, maybe could raise a hand. Otherwise, we're just going to keep flowing right through. I am curious to know, Carolyn, if you have any questions. You know, obviously with your tenure in the industry, and you know what your outlook on solar is, and has it changed from years ago?
Hi, sorry about that. I actually have solar. I actually got it about maybe 5 years ago. So I'm very happy with it. It did lower my electric bill. I think it's a good thing for people to have, and I think it does add value to a home.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I know we were intending on doing this in person, guys, so that drastically changes how and what we were going to present. I see everybody has their cameras off. I don't know if I play a video, if you guys would be able to see it, but I'm gonna play it, so at the very least you can hear what I'm sorry, who's trying to say something? Is that you? Let me see. No. I'm gonna play this Con Edison video very briefly, just so it can speak to, you know, how the solar actually works. So just bear with me 1 second as I cue this up. I miss Denny. Okay, here we go.
Each day, when the sun rises, a growing number of Con Edison customers are discovering the value of solar energy. Everyone knows that solar is good for the environment, but not everyone knows how installing solar can help lower your monthly utility bill. The process is called net metering. Solar panels convert sunlight into energy, which is used to help power your home. When you produce more energy than you need, the excess is pumped into the electric grid, which actually causes your meter to record in reverse. When panels don't generate enough energy to power your home, you'll once again need to draw energy from the grid, causing your meter to move forward, like it did before solar. When a Con Edison representative comes out to read your meter, they'll compare the current month's reading to the previous month's to determine energy usage and bill you accordingly. When the current meter reading is higher than the previous month, it means that your electric needs were more than your solar could provide. When your current meter is reading less than the previous month, it means that your solar panels produced more energy than you used. This surplus is then carried over and credited to future billing periods. If you have a net surplus of energy at the end of the year, Con Edison will reconcile your account by issuing a credit. It's important to remember that even with solar power and net metering, you will still be responsible for a basic service charge each month that helps maintain the electric grid. It's also important to know that things such as weather, season, and time of day all affect how much solar power you generate. To save the most money with solar, try reducing your general energy usage. If you'd like to learn more about solar energy and net metering, please visit coned.com/solar or email us at solar@coned.com.
Okay, any questions on net metering and how the solar works?
I personally don't have questions. I worked with solar before.
Awesome. Awesome. So before I pass it over to John, he's going to give some more detail on the particular program that's our go-to for New York State. And he'll talk about the benefits and the process. But after this call is over, I'm going to send an email to Sakina that will have like an outline to give you guys some talk points. I always encourage individuals to, if they're going to send us leads, to sell the sit and not sell the solar, right? Keep it really simple, really basic. You know, how does it work? There's no upfront cost. If you qualify, and instead of paying full price for Con Edison, you could save some money by plugging into the sun. You know, something really light, really brief. And every time you get hit with a question, you say, that's a great question. That's exactly what, you know, John and David will be going over with you. And just kind of validate and redirect them right back to that consult. It's really all about a 90-second engagement. You'll submit this form. I'm actually going to drop this in the chat. This is a customized form that I created for you guys. And what's really cool about this form stack is once you submit a lead, we have a great tracking system, so we know who to pay eventually, who submitted it. But also it does two things on our end for streamlining and ensuring that your customer gets the best customer experience. Number one, it's going to pop up on our calendar for the selected time to be contacted. We don't want to call your customer at the wrong time. So, you know, we're very gentlemanlike on the phone. You select 6 p.m. That's how we start the conversation. You know, good evening, Mr. Johnson. I see that you chose 6 p.m. today, Friday. Does this still work for you? Right. So as many notes as you can also add into the description box as well. The other thing that's going to happen other than hit our calendar is it's going to actually create a new lead in our CRM. And then internally for our operations, that will trigger certain functions to make sure that this is even a viable opportunity. And with that being said, I'm going to pass it to John regarding the program overview, some key points about the program, the benefits, and then at the end of that, we'll go to a Q&A and I'll share that QR code for lead submission.
Okay, thanks, David. Yeah, so I guess I'll keep this somewhat brief. We don't have the props or the whiteboard, but I'm going to work with my hands a lot to explain how this works simply. So there's really two ways that folks can go solar, and benefit from, as David said very well, plugging into the sun. Carolyn, I'm guessing you're familiar with your two options since you have solar, but it's pretty simple. It's like buying a car. You typically lease or you buy. You lease or you finance. I'll generally tell folks that there isn't really a bad way to go solar because it's green energy and you'll save some money. But generally speaking, if a homeowner can qualify for all of the federal and state subsidies available for purchasing the solar system, that would be the best economical route to go, because it means the majority of savings are passed on directly to the person that owns that solar system. And you may have noticed at the end of that video from Con Edison, it said that you can visit a site on coned.com to learn more about solar. David will blast out some links at the end of the call, but essentially there you'll find out more about what's called the New York Sun on-bill recovery loan for buying solar panels. And I know that's a bit of a long-winded name, but that's the state of New York. They chose it, not me. But the reason why it's called the on-bill recovery loan is because it's a very clever feature where, you know, they ran all kinds of polls and surveys and statistics, and they determined that by far the majority of homeowners are interested in going solar, or in the very least, they are not opposed to going solar, and they appreciate the concept of free power and green energy from the sun. But a lot of us are opposed to taking on more debt, right? We have our mortgages, we have our student loans, we have our car finances. And the concept of taking out an additional $30,000, $40,000 to buy a solar system is just sort of, you know, not everyone is comfortable with that. So the state of New York came up with a pretty clever concept where they said, look, we're going to pool a whole bunch of taxpayer money, and they have a significant budget for this. It's just under $5 billion that they've allocated towards this program, by far the biggest in the country. And the way that it works loosely is for the qualifying house, which, you know, quickly put means they qualify for the exposure, the amount of sunlight that hits the roof. The electrical system in the home is up to building code and in good shape, typically 150 amp or higher. No rust on the meter pan, service mast, stuff like that, logical stuff. And then the structural integrity, meaning that the rafters that carry the roof are built to today's building code, 16 inches on center. Being in realty, I'm sure you guys are familiar with some of these terms. And the condition of the roof. So it's really those three criteria: exposure, electrical, structural. You know, there's a pretty in-depth inspection that's done at no cost to the consumer. And provided those criteria are met, the state of New York will finance the homeowner's upfront costs to purchase that solar system outright and have complete day one ownership of the system. What does that mean? It means there is no lien on the property, which there would have been should you, lease or take out a private loan the traditional way. So that's the major benefit. They're not taking on debt to purchase the system. And the way that the state of New York recovers the taxpayer investment is through a line item charge on their existing Con Edison utility statement. We do a huge amount of projects out in Long Island as well. As you may know, it's PSEG out there, but because this is a statewide umbrella program, it applies to any utility within the state of New York. So upstate's Orange and Rockland. I'm not sure if you guys sell homes out there or realty out there, but long story short, any given home that qualifies for the federal and state subsidy, and these are things that we verify on an individual basis, and that qualifies for this additional NYSERDA funding, can effectively get a solar system installed with no out-of-pocket costs, without taking on any debt, and they can pay back that system vis-a-vis their existing Con Ed utility bill. So what does that mean for the bill? It means obviously your bill is not going to go down to zero right away, right? Because that's how the state's going to recover the taxpayer investment. But it means that without taking on debt, that's really the key factor, you can leverage an existing utility expense, which we have to pay anyway, to buy equity in an asset that will ultimately eliminate that electrical expense. So that's kind of, Solar 101 of how the state program works. And again, forgive how long-winded it is. If you want to look this up, and we'll send the links out after the call, it is called the New York Sun On-Bill Recovery Loan, and it's hosted by nyserda.ny.gov.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Also, guys, a really cool thing about the program is we're a one-stop shop. So we work with installation partners depending on the territory. So we have one dedicated installer for the boroughs, residential, commercial, one residential installer and commercial for Long Island, New Jersey, Connecticut. We have the ability to facilitate solar in 27 states in the country. We're not locked into one particular contractor. So that's the beauty of us being the nonprofit acquisition firm. And we don't deal with any installers that are not a top rated installer. Another great thing about this program is where most companies will turn away from a home because they're limited. Many solar companies stay away from terracotta tile, slate roof, flat roofs in the boroughs because of fire code restrictions. We're really able to put solar on any property in New York State. We work with an installer who was a roofer, and then he evolved into solar. So we're very confident we can do any job that you guys put in front of us. What I really love about the program is, you know, we were able to give a homeowner a brand new roof, upgrade their electrical service, and put a solar savings project on their roof, and really keep them within reason of their existing bill in most cases. I had my neighbor, he was paying like $325 a month, and I brought him down to $155 a month. That included a brand new roof worth $16,000. And from the property tax abatement money, not only did he drop his bill from $325 to $155 with a brand new roof, he's getting back like $10,000 from New York City. So solar is on fire right now because of the subsidies, and the time is now, you know, with that regard. I don't know if you guys are able to see a QR code. If I drop it, maybe the best thing to do is for me to send an email to Sakina and then have her blast that out with a one-page document that'll give you guys some talking points. It'll highlight our process. So we have a 3-step process to getting someone approved for a project. It's a low pressure thing. The first time we go out, it's just an introduction. We manage expectation. We let them know that we're going to run a simulation to review together. We request that simulation, which is just a software imagery of the roof to see how many panels we could fit on there and if there's any shading concerns. We then schedule to come back with the customer to review that. And if at that point things look good and they want to try to apply to see if they could get approved for the program, you know, we take the next steps. It typically takes about 60 to 90 days from day one to project completion, which is obviously when we would be cutting those checks for the finder's fee, the commission. Any questions so far?
Nope.
Okay. Am I missing anything, John?
No, we have some props and stencils to, you know, do a whole show and tell typically, but it's a little challenging with the Zoom. But I think we've pretty much covered anything. And you know, if you guys think of any additional questions after the fact, I would strongly encourage you to follow the hyperlinks that we'll ask Sakina to kindly send out to everyone on the call, and just go to nyserta.ny.gov. Again, a tremendous program hosted by the taxpayer. So, you know, tremendous way for your homeowners, your clients to recover some of their, you know, their tax dollars, and a tremendous way for you to add value to them, right, in the form of free information and ultimately a little equity bump in the home should they qualify.
Yeah, and in closing, you know, in talking with Lydia, we are so grateful for the opportunity. We're willing to invest any time. If any of you are going to go door to door, if you're going to hit the phones, in any way that we can support, you know, your overall growth and evolution in the real estate game. We have a lot of experience with door to door and over the phones. We're looking to have a mutually beneficial relationship here. So anything we can do to help you guys, to help us, to help these communities, you know, we're all ears. So we do appreciate the opportunity. We know it's Friday night. Thank you so very much. And please do look for that email to come from Sakina, perhaps by lunchtime on Monday. Thank you so very much, everybody, for joining and making